Hi everybody. Just thought I'd give you a brief overview of the model view controller application known as the spinner. Spinners are classed into the spinner number models, and they're classed into a GUI element called the JSpinner. The JSpinner takes the number model or spinner model as an argument and then gives you a visual controller and view. And what your goal is, of course, is to try and separate the model and the view and the controller. So here we have a date coming in to a spinner date model, and it's being used to control and change the date in some sort of an object that is represented by a java.util.date. There's a list model available, which allows you to take a list of objects, and you can use those to select individual objects, and the objects can then be manipulated. The number model is interesting because it allows you to add semantics to the number. So you can have an integer with a specific start, a specific minimum and maximum, and a step as you go from one increment to the next. You can go in powers of 2, for example, or you can make sure your integer is never negative. And this can serve to give you semantic meaning. You can do the same thing for double precision numbers. You can give them a start, a minimum, a maximum, and some step. And in principle, you can do it with arbitrary comparable elements. So as a JSpinner, when events come through, I'll give you a change listener. But what I like to do is I like to map all of the listeners over into the invoked interface known as runnable. So when you try and run some of the run spinner number models available to you in the Java for Programmers book, you get an opportunity to see a whole series of different things that combine spinners with, for example, sliders. And so if we were to, let's just do a quick reformat here so we can make sure that things are formatted for television. So now what we can do here is we can see there's a spinner number model, and this is one of the things that's built in to the Java, and it's held internally by the run integer spinner slider. Let's do a quick run and see how that works. So now we see that there is a slider here with some dummy variable and an actual value. The slider can be a controller, and you can see how the model is changing in the text field. Moreover, the up and down arrows can be controllers, and that changes the slider, so the slider becomes a view. Here is a value pi from minus pi to plus pi. That's our range, and so we can pick numbers that represent something like degrees and radians. Moreover, we can use the up and down arrows here, or if we click into the text field, we can use the actual arrow keys or the down keys. Moreover, you can change these ranges to anything you might like, and you can see the values are being returned here as part of a printed out element inside of an implementation of the run method. So here when we go to get the value, we go to our spinner model and we make sure it's a value instance of an integer before we try and do the casting, and then we get the int value and we can return it when somebody calls get value. If it's an integer of a double precision number, we can truncate it and get an int value as well. Because this is an integer spinner slider model, we expect that the model will be numeric, whether it's double precision or integer. We don't care, we just check first so we don't get a class cast exception at runtime. The way we use these things is quite interesting, I think. Let's go straight to the application. So here's our main. We've got a closable JFrame. Then they get a content pane and set up our flow layout. You can use anything you like. You could use grid layout. Let's do that, grid layout. And we'll put everything in as many rows as you want, but exactly 2 columns. And if you want, we can make it exactly 2 rows and as many columns as you like. Let's see if we got that backwards. Yep, there we go, 2 rows. So now what we're going to do here is we're going to take a quick look around and see what's going on. We'll start off with the spinner number model. We give it initial values, steps, increments, and minimum and maximum. And then what we do is we get a thing called the run normalized spinner number model. This is my own version of the spinner number model that can give us integers that range between 0 and 1 so that we can have a nice visualization for our sliders. Here's a run integer spinner slider with our model, and we're going to set up the slider in a horizontal direction. Your sliders can be horizontal or vertical. Let's take a look and see what happens when we go to a vertical slider. There you go, vertical slider. Can't say I care for it, but there it is. There may be applications that you need. I'll set it back. And now here's our run method for the run integer spinner slider model. The model comes in, and whenever the model changes, it gives us an invocation of the run method. We can get our value, which is cast to an integer, since it's a run integer spinner slider. We can do the same thing with a double, run slider double, and put in a slider model, and then give it a value here. We'll give it a label, and we'll call it pi. So dummy variable, if we can change that, we can make it x. And now we see x is off to the left, and we see pi is being used in the border with a minimum and maximum range, all in the border around the panel. And it gives us values whenever we start to change numbers inside of the field of view. Oh, and you can type numbers in here as well. So you can put in something like 3.2 and hit enter, and that will create a new value. Oh, make a liar of me, will you? Must be a bug somewhere. So that's a keyboard focus issue. Apparently, I didn't give keyboard focus to the text field. So there you have it. The run slider menu. Run sliders are elements that you can include in your interfaces. Here's a bunch of them, each one of which is ranging from 0 to 100 run sliders, and their values come back whenever a value changes. They have labels and some identifier associated with them, and I set up the ticks so that you can see a nice even distribution of tick marks as the label is displayed. So here's the run slider with tick marks every so often. And what we do to make that work, run slider, closable J-frame gets a content pane. We throw up a border layout, and we do this so-called plus-minus slider in the north, and a run slider horizontal. Let's see if we can find that plus-minus slider in the north. I don't recall seeing it. Might be there. I do not see that. So this is going in the south. We got something in the north. We're using border layout. And we have vertical sliders, which are being added to the east and some to the west. I wonder if it's because we have so many of them. This is called test 1. So we must have something else in here. I see. So here are 15 sliders, all vertical. So if we change this to main 2 and then change test 1 to main, then we can run this program. I'm looking at it going, geez, why doesn't that work? That should have worked. And that's public static void main string args. We're leaving out little chunks here. That's supposed to be public. Wow. Number of bugs here. Now things can run. And there you go. Northeast, south, and west sliders. And this one has italics used for the labels. That's fancy. And they're calling this we're calling it the plus minus slider. And it looks like, yep, sure enough, we slipped in the font .italic when we made the font for the tick labels for plus minus slider. Very fancy. So there you have it, an overview of the spinner run model, sliders, and a model view controller application. Thank you very much.